Welcome to Richmond International Raceway, where for this round of Budweiser Pole qualifying for the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series, the story is, as it is every week, the drivers who must try and time their way into the field. The drivers in the danger zone, the go or go homers, are as much a story as who will win the Budweiser Pole. That stern look on Dale Jarrett's face after practice. He was third on the practice chart. But the timing and scoring information NASCAR distributed to the teams and the media was wrong. They had a computer malfunction. Jarrett was 44th. Here is the corrected top 10 in practice speeds, led by Scott Briggs in his Dodge and rookie David Reagan's Ford. So a little different look at the practice speeds from what you may have seen earlier on Speed Today as we get set to run for the Bud Pole. Mike Joy, Larry McReynolds, Darrell Waltrip with you. And let's talk first about the drivers who come out of the Busch Series just having qualified the Busch car, which is the familiar car we've been running for all these years. And now the brand new car, what we've called the car of tomorrow, is what these drivers will have to climb into now.
And I think what they're going to be faced with is don't overdrive this car. It doesn't like that. This is a car that we use the term slow down, go faster. You got to back off a little early because it doesn't want to turn. You're going to hear them all say, oh, it wouldn't turn in the middle, wouldn't turn in the middle, and I'm loose off. Slow down, it'll turn in the middle, and it won't be loose off. So that's what they're dealing right now. But it's difficult getting out of that Busch car and getting in this thing.
Now, Larry, last week at Talladega, we had two different agendas in qualifying. The go-or-go-homers were on a full qualifying package. The drivers locked into the field, those 35 were not. Such that Michael Waltrip, who was 19th fastest in qualifying, did not get to race. He went home. Is there such a disparity here between qualifying packages and the race package?
Well, not quite as much. Now, we do need to stress that the similarity to Talladega, this is an impound race. These teams, the 50 teams that are here trying to qualify for this race, they only had an hour and 45 minutes of practice. You know, last week at Talladega, what those guys could do, they could lean on the engines. They could lean on a lot of fluids. Not necessarily the case here. I don't think we'll see as much of those go-or-go-homers up in the top 10, but if you notice the practice charts, there were a couple of them up in the top 5, but Darrell's absolutely right, Mike. I think that will be the nemesis tonight in this qualifying is guys that overdrive those cars and then they get loose off. Turn 2 was almost calamity corner during that entire hour and 45 minutes of practice. Guys almost getting to the outside wall.
Yeah, last week you compromised your engine. This week you compromise anything. It'll be handling, and that's something you don't want to give up here.
Well, let's have a look at the danger zone. The drivers just in and just out of the top 35 in car owner standings. Casey Mears, despite his problems at Talladega, still held on to that 35th and final qualifying exemption. So drivers above 35th and above, they're in the show. From Scott Riggs on down, they have to make the show. There are 50 cars here. That means that 7 drivers will go home, and all 8 of the Toyota Camrys that are entered are on this list. So we're about to find out who wins the pole and who gets to race tomorrow night in the Crown Royal presents the Jim Stewart 400. Speed's presentation of Bud Pole qualifying from Richmond is brought to you by Best Buy. Thousands of possibilities, get yours. And by Delta Farce, starring Larry the Cable Guy, in theaters everywhere, May 11th. Getting ready to roll for Bud Pole qualifying. Let's go trackside to Chris Devoda.
Down here with Tony Stewart. You know, a lot of guys say a track is one of their favorites. Tony, you said no, this is not one of my favorites. This is my favorite. Why is that?
Well, anytime you've won 2 truck races and 3 cup races, it's honorarily got to be your favorite. So we haven't ran very good here in past years, but it's still, I mean, to me, it's the perfect size track. I mean, we don't need any more mile-and-a-half tracks for anybody that wants to invest, you know, $90 billion or whatever to build a racetrack. All we need is a nice 3/4 mile or 7/8 mile like Rusty built, and these are perfect size racetracks.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. That's Tony Stewart. He has 3 wins here. Let's go down to Matt Yoakum.
Down in the Ganassi camp, David Stremme and his new teammate, Juan Pablo Montoya, discussing their pre-qualifying strategy. So you qualified 11th in the Busch car. Now going back to the COT Nextel Cup, how big of a transition going from one to the other? in qualifying?
It's pretty big. You know, the level of grip is very different. You know, with the old cars it was a lot closer, so we'll see, you know. It's handles very different, so we'll see what happens, but I think we got a good race car.
He qualified 11th for the Busch race. He was 19th fastest in Nextel Cup practice. Mike?
Thanks, Matt. The weather here has been quite variable. A lot of rain yesterday, and rain perhaps in the forecast tomorrow night. But right now, you know, the sun has popped out. We haven't seen that hardly at all today.
For those cars that were ill handling in practice earlier today, they'll like the looks of that track temperature. That's about 20 degrees cooler than it was when they were right in the middle and in the heat of their practice session.
I'm really surprised because coming over here to the booth, it felt pretty warm outside. I mean, maybe warmer than earlier today. So, but the sun's gone down.
Johnny Benson will be the first car on the clock when we come back to Richmond right after this. Welcome back to Richmond, where we're ready to roll with Bud Pole qualifying for tomorrow night's race, the Jim Stewart 400. Not named for the actor nor the motocrosser, but for a fellow who won a contest in Daytona, sponsored by the race sponsor, Crown Royal. The Your Name Here 400 is what we called it up until February, and Jim Stewart became the man, and it's his name on the race. David Reagan rolls off fifth, and there is the race logo. So Jim will get his week of fame here in Richmond. Mark Martin's back behind the wheel of the 01. He'll roll off 17th after being 14th in practice.
He's going to run a number of races. I think the next time he'll take the weekend off will be late June when we go out to the road course in Sonoma.
Johnny Benson driving for Jeff Weiler in this Toyota, crew chief by Tony Furr. Benson, former Rookie of the Year, former Busch Series champ, has 15 Cup Series starts here. He right now is 7th in the Craftsman Truck standings.
Thing was fast up here testing. I mean, he led testing, and man, you can see Larry, they got her on the ground. She's sparking as she headed off into turn one.
Yeah, this Jeff Weiler team, that's actually the truck team that filled the truck for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series for Jack Sprague, that actually won the Daytona race back in February.
Now Benson's got to go. He was 37th in practice. More importantly, he was 10th on the go or go home list. And we're going to take 8. There is no champions provisional this week. We'll get to that a little later on.
His first lap is 22:02. I noticed in Nextel Cup practice, as well as Busch Series qualifying, it's like most of these cars, at least in practice, picked up on their second lap. I think a lot of that is due to heating the tires, and there you see it, almost 3/10 to a 21.75.
Hey, in Busch, you know, they go on sticker tires. In Cup, you can roll them in or whatever you want to do, and that helps the Cup cars quite a lot, I think.
Johnny Benson, one of 15 drivers hoping to make it into this race on time. We will take 8. Johnny Sauter, yellow transportation, number 70. Let's have a look at Johnny Sauter's Talladega event. And this is right in the middle.
The caution as we were in the green-white checkered. You could see what a hard lick. Darrell, I was over at the Haas CNC shop the middle of this week and looked at that race car, and it is tore up. But I think that's another testimony to how safe these cars are. Booty Barker told me, the crew chief said that Johnny was a little sore Monday and Tuesday, but good shape.
Just think back to what Jeff Gordon told us last week. You know, he said the car tomorrow, yeah, it's a safe car. It's got some safety features. This car we got right now is a safe race car. He said, as long as I got my seat, as long as I have the seat I have right now, he said, I feel like I can endure almost anything.
Now, Sauter is in the show. This team is in the top 35 in car owner points. Johnny has one top 10 start this year. That was at Martinsville.
His first lap, 21.97, which is a little faster than Johnny Benson's first lap. You can see right there, he's pretty much on track, I think, to better Benson's lap of 21.75.
Sauter has a Busch Series win here in 2003.
Pretty exciting Busch win, too, yeah. I might add. I think he booted our buddy Matt Kenseth out of the way on the 3rd and 4th turn, a little bump and run. to win the race.
Which we tend to have here every once in a while.
It can happen. It's one of them racing things.
Well, down here, Jeff Gordon's talking with Tony Stewart. We're going to see if we can sneak in for a word. Jeff, if there is one driver who's on a hot streak right now, safe to say it's you. What have the last couple weeks been like for you? Where do they rank in all of those wins that you have?
I've had to pinch myself a couple of times to make sure it's all real. It's been pretty amazing, and you know, I just never dreamed in my career I'd ever be at 77 wins, and to be able to do it in the fashion we've done it. And you know, 15 years into our career, to have a year like we're having right now, this is has been fantastic for the DuPont Chevrolet team.
2 wins here for Jeff Gordon, but you know, it's been a while. I think 1 top 10 in the last 11 starts. Is that right, guys?
We'll check that, Krista. Thanks. A.J. Allmendinger in the Red Bull Toyota.
Overdrove that corner, locked up a right front. These cars are real bad to lock up a right front wheel there.
And Darrell, they don't like to go hard into the corner, do they?
No, you got to back off early. That's something you just got to tell yourself.
I think that's a product of several things. One, they don't have near as much front downforce as the current car. But I think 2 other contributing factors, and I talked to a lot of guys in the garage area, the right side weight of these cars, it's 75 pounds heavier than the current car, plus the center of gravity is higher. That's one reason you just can't bail it off in there.
There's a philosophy on short track racing that we used forever. The 3 L's, low, light, and left. And this car defies every one of those. It's tall, it's heavy, and it wants to roll over, and that's a pretty good second lap.
I drove it in a little cheap the first lap.
I believe you did. We concur.
You heat up tires, just like we talked about. You're doing a great job.
And he is fastest so far. So A.J. Allmendinger with a 21.61. Not sure where the break, a little early to tell where the break point is going to be between the 8th and 9th quickest of the go-or-go-homers. I would just right off the top think that a lap in the 50s would have a good shot of making the show. And a lap in the 60s.
You're going to have to, like you say, Mike, I think you're going to have to wait just a little bit to see where the pattern is.
I think this track it's going to get faster and faster. Boy,
well, that's true.
Ryan Newman just went up the hill there. I think you're going to see somebody probably set on a pole at about a 21:30 odd, be my guess. And then somewhere behind there, you know, like you said, maybe in the 50s, but you better be in the low 50s.
Ryan Newman got his 2nd top 10 of the year last week at Talladega. And his win here in 2003 is his only NASCAR Nextel Cup short track win.
This is actually, I think, going to be a pretty decent first lap for Ryan. No, 22:01.
He's smoking the tires there on that first lap, and sounds like just what I'm hearing Allmendinger and them talk about, that like can't get any heat in the tires. Takes a lap to do that. So I think guys must be depending on that. But Ryan's car looks a little snug. It's kind of pushing up the hill with him, looks to me like.
Yeah, 21.75 right now. He's going to be 3rd quickest.
Coming up, David Reagan, Jeff Burton, and Robbie Gordon. Rookie David Reagan for Jack Roush, Roush Fenway Racing, in the AAA number 6, 3rd quickest, 21.73. And here's Matt.
And A.J. Allmendinger, the fastest man so far. And now the wait begins.
Yeah, man, this sucks going early. It sucks for 2 reasons. They're going to get faster and have to sit here and watch. But, you know, I'm happy with the lap. The whole Team Red Bull crew, we tested this week. They've been working their butts off at the shop. Here at the track, the car's better. Hope we can get in, but man, I was so nervous before qualifying. But my crew chief, Rick Byers, he's as cool as the other side of the pillow, so he's good for me.
Now the track temperature at the beginning of qualifying and then at the end of final practice is about 13 to 15 degree difference, Larry Mack, cooler.
That is a new one. I have never heard that, cooler than the other side of the pillow.
Yeah, I heard him say that the other night.
You know, A.J. has only made 2 races this year, but they were 2 of the Car Tomorrow races at Bristol and Martinsville.
Robbie Gordon driving his own Ford, one of the very few owner drivers left at the Nextel Cup level. 22.36 the first lap. Now he's in the show. He's a top 35 car.
But he's nervous about that. We talked to Robbie, and he had that engine problem at Talladega, lost about 6 or 7 spots, and he knows he's got to step it up if he wants to stay in the top 35.
Yeah, that car just didn't look good at all. And
95, Darrell. That anchors the field of 6 so far.
Yeah, looks like it was tripping over to me.
What do you mean by that?
That's what he told me.
Oh, that's what he said.
He told me that. I said, I've never heard that
Tripping
before.
over. I
the
haven't either.
front tires are tripping over the rear ones. And if
Yikes.
you figure that one out. I told him I was going to use it. I said, I like it. That and widget. I got to get me a widget.
Maybe you can use a widget to correct the tripping.
No, I asked him if that was possible, and he said he didn't think so. It's all high tech. I mean,
we'll put our best man on it.
It's a new era of communicating.
Did you know that the king met the queen yesterday? Well, more on that a little later. Jeremy Mayfield is on the go or go home list with his 360 OTC Toyota from Bill Davis Racing. And he's run in 3 races this year. Bristol, Martinsville, and Talladega. Qualified 13th at Martinsville. Runs pretty good when he gets in the show.
Yeah, he has a win here back in September 2004. That, to some degree, is what got him in the chase for the Nextel Cup that year.
Yeah, it was.
Did he catch the wall there?
No, I think he just playing
All
with
but
it.
kissed it.
Just playing with it. She's nibbling on him.
See what he does here on lap 1 in this 36
Bad looking
car.
first lap.
22:11.
Needs to find, I think half a second to be on the safe side.
I think he'll have, this is a, first lap looked pretty good, like he was saving a little something, trying to maybe capitalize on the second lap.
But Mike, Darrell, what these guys are going through, trying to find answers with this car tomorrow. Of course, all the teams were up here and tested last month. His second lap ends up 21:86. We were at Talladega racing last Sunday. Tommy Ball and his group, they were in New Smyrna Beach, Florida at the racetrack on Tuesday, trying to sort through more things about this car tomorrow, getting ready to come here.
Jeremy shaking his head after a run that's a 21:86, 6th fastest. Krista?
Well, down here with Mark Martin, who did not race in Talladega. These fans are happy that you are back here in Richmond. We ask you every week, are you rejuvenated? Is it a different Mark Martin than it's been in years past?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, I have a new lease on life, and I'm having a blast working with these guys and driving the U.S. Army car. I'm happy to be back, too. The fans are, you know, so supportive, and they were really awesome last year and even more awesome this year. I feel like the luckiest guy on earth.
That's what he keeps saying, the luckiest guy on the planet. We love hearing it.
Thanks, Krista. Matt Kenseth had a great qualifying run for the Busch race. He'll start up in the top 4.
I like the way this piece is looking. It's good, solid. Not pushing. He's backing the gas pretty quick. Straight up off the corner.
First lap 22:10.
He's outside pole for the Busch race, but as you've talked, these cars drive so differently.
I think
can't really put one lap up against the other, can you?
I think that's a difficult thing. These guys get out of those Busch cars, and that first lap in this car has got to be like, whoa, what is this?
Well, this lap looks pretty good.
The car looks fast. I mean, and that first lap wasn't all that impressive, but it looks fast.
21:73. That puts him 3rd quickest right now. In fact, he and David Reagan are tied, but owner points breaks a tie. So right now, Matt will be in front of David Reagan.
Scheduled up next, Ken Schrader and Juan Pablo Montoya. Bobby Labonte won a pole here early in his Cup career, 1993, and right now he is 3rd quickest in the King's car, Richard Petty's. The King met the Queen of England in Richmond yesterday.
As a matter of fact, Petty won the first race here back 100 years ago. And I'm not talking about Richard or Kyle. I'm talking about Lee.
Lee Petty.
Yes.
Richard's daddy.
Yes.
Yeah, we've had 101 races here at Richmond. Of course, the configuration was much different back then. It was a half-mile bull ring. In fact, I think the first configuration was actually dirt.
Well, you know, as David Gilliland comes out to run his laps in the M&M Sport, it's kind of like the farmer's 150-year-old axe. It's had 8 different heads and 7 different handles, but it's 150 years old.
There you go.
Well, that's a good first lap.
That is a good first lap.
There won't be a very good second lap. Whoops. A couple of whoopses in that one.
And I
guarantee he got too good to him on that first one, and he just overdrove the second.
He tried to get him a little more down in turn 1 and 2, and it's just not going to work out.
Nope. He can just run a little house.
You know, it looks like too much speed into the corner is a little like too much beer. Well, you know, it's good at the moment, but Doesn't always have a happy ending.
I'm glad you straightened that out.
Now we have the second tie. David Gilliland ran exactly what Jeremy Mayfield ran, but again, the tiebreaker owner's point, so David Gilliland will be in front of Jeremy Mayfield in the 36th car, but David is locked into the show.
Jeff Gordon in the DuPont Chevrolet. He has 2 career poles here, 1996 and 2000. Or excuse me, those are his 2 wins. He has 4 poles and 8 front row starts coming in here. But his last 4 finishes here, not memorable. Not a top 25 amongst them.
His first lap's not going to be all that memorable either. He just drove down into turn 1 again. Way too hard. Looked to me like, and the car went up the hill. Now he's made a lot of good time up down here in turn 3 and 4. See where that puts him.
Now with the Impala, which is Chevy's version of the car tomorrow, he has started no worse than 3rd in the 3 races so far.
Can't seem to get the car at the bottom down there in 1 and 2. Now this is a much better lap.
That was a pretty good first lap, though, Darryl. 21.64, and of course we sat down with Jeff last week, and he told us he has to make himself say, this is the Impala. I can't overdrive it. 21.38. He beats Allmendinger by well over 2 tenths.
There's your 30. You're in a 21.64, 21.38. Unbelievable.
That's what we're looking for.
That thing was awesome, guys. You guys are blowing me away. I don't know what you're doing.
And don't care. I'll just keep driving this thing. I do need to correct myself back to Jeremy Mayfield, David Gilliland. Actually, when we got to the thousandths column, Jeremy Mayfield did beat David Gilliland by 3 thousandths.
Juan Pablo Montoya, the Texaco Haviland Dodge, is next. 2 cars excused from their qualifying draw. Ken Schrader with suspension problems in the Wood Brothers Ford, and Jeff Burton with an engine problem on his Childress Chevy that they are trying to repair rather than replace. Bill Sloboda is anxiously going through his notes to find out the last time we had a driver with 3 straight poles, as Jeff Gordon is in position to do that this weekend.
So he's got a pretty darn good chance right now with that lap he put up there on the second lap. But Juan Montoya, hearing him go off down the back straightaway, he was shifting gears like they were sequential. I can't believe how quick he can shift those gears. That guy, I tell you where he's going to be tough is in a few weeks when we get to Sonoma.
Oh, yeah.
I'd say watch out for Mr. Montoya.
First lap, 21.92 for Juan.
Smooth right there, Larry. Not that car nice and straight up off the corner.
Guy really went through the center of the corner good.
He's got such a good feel for a car. I tell you, it's really impressive what he can do.
Good lap here. A 63, and that is 3rd quickest for Montoya.
Starting to see some of the same characteristics of this qualifying session we even did in Busch Series.
Much better than earlier, but it's still a little too tight in the center. Really good off, just a little tight in the center.
Definitely came off the corner good,
right.
But we've already got 4 cars in the low 60s in this qualifying session.
Let's check with Matt.
And the biggest issue Jeff Gordon said during practice was just trying to be consistent and hit that sweet spot. It looks like you did again during qualifying. How good was the car?
Well, it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. We really struggled when we went to our qualifying runs for practice. We're good for race runs. And, you know, I think going out early, it's track's going to only get faster, and so we got to put up a good lap like that. And I come on the radio. I told Steve Latour, I don't know what these guys are doing, but man, they're just amazing. You know, all the things I wanted that car to do, it did it. I was able to drive in a little harder. I was able to get back in the gas and just roll through the middle. It's a little bit loose off, so you know there's some room there, and I think the track's can get better. So we'll see where it ends up, but pretty darn good lap for the DuPont Chevrolet.
Nobody has been better in the CO2 races. A first, a second, and a third for Jeff Gordon.
Casey Kane on track, 21.87 on his first lap. By the way, Jeff Gordon's Virginia Tech had at least 2 members of his team, Brian Weitzel and Caleb Hurd, are graduates of Tech.
You know, Casey Kane on the racetrack right now on his qualifying run, he won his first race here in 2005, so he likes this place, and he beat his hero, too.
He'll like that qualifying run, too. 21.50, that puts him 2nd quickest.
David Stremme in the Dodge Avenger, the Coors Light Dodge, 2167, 7th fastest for Stremme, and he is locked in to the field. He's part of the top 35. Mark Martin, 23 top 10 and 15 top 5 starts here at Richmond in a career that goes all the way back to 1981.
Has the one win here, a very controversial win. They did not take the win away from him back in 1990, but because of the intake manifold spacer height underneath the carburetor, they took several points away from him, and that point margin was greater that they took away than what he lost the championship by.
Go back to that, Larry. My understanding was the height was correct, but the spacer was welded to the manifold and was not a separate piece, is my recollection of the infraction.
And I do think you're right, yeah.
So it was a very minor point because the effect was the same, but NASCAR said that's an infraction and took the points away.
And the reason they felt that way is because it was welded and it made it look like it was a part of the manifold, as if you were trying to add a little bit on there without anyone noticing.
Well, no add-on here. The Army car is 3rd fastest for Mark with a 21:57. Tony Stewart ready to qualify at his favorite track. It's where he won his first Nextel Cup race. He's won here in trucks, one here in Cup. He's won 2 of the 3 truck races and 3 Cup races.
And one thing, he smoked her down into turn 3 coming to get the green. Went up the hill there a ways. Maybe he's diamonding that corner off. Get a good run at the flag.
You know, Matt was talking about the success that Jeff Gordon has had with the car at tomorrow races, and certainly we know Hendrick, they've won all 3 of them with 3 different drivers. Joe Gibbs Racing, they have led over half the laps of the car at tomorrow races, but nothing in the win column to show for it with their 3 different cars.
First lap at 21:91.
Oh,
gets good off turn 2.
Oh yeah, this will be a somewhat better looking lap.
He's led 400 laps in these 3 races with the Impala.
This is the same car that he finished 2nd with at Phoenix, and this group as well went to New Smyrna Beach, Florida to test this car, get more information on Tuesday.
9th quickest for Tony Stewart. Last driver to win 4 poles in a row was, oh, wait a minute. Ricky Rudd, 4th fastest in the pedigree Ford. Rudd has 2 poles and 2 wins here. The last driver to win 4 consecutive poles, the Rocket, Ryan Newman, fall of 2004.
Not surprised at that one.
Kyle Petty on track in the Merchants Tire Dodge. Here's Krista.
Well, down here with Jimmy Johnson, and we were talking, I mean, this guy is so good at every track, but if there's one on your list that maybe you kind of struggle with, I guess this is it.
Yeah, Richmond and Bristol are probably the 2 hardest short tracks for me. We're hoping this new car brings a new opportunity. We're able to get things right. The car's been really strong. I just got to get in the right rhythm out on the racetrack, and it all starts here by qualifying tonight, qualifying well, so that tomorrow's not as hectic.
And you can see the focus when we were talking. He really wants to do well at this track, guys.
Thanks, Krista. Kyle Petty, it was announced this week. Chad McCumbee and John Andretti will share the driving duties when Kyle goes into the TNT announce booth for 5 of their 6 races. He will announce from the race car out at Sonoma.
We're a lot better than where we were today.
I got to talk to Kyle. He wants to move to Tennessee. He wants to move over to Nashville out in Franklin there, Leaper's Fork near there. And he's dragging his feet. His daughter goes to the same school mine does. Jessica goes to Belmont, so does Kyle's daughter. So trying to get him to move to Tennessee and be my neighbor.
There we go. I got 4 words for it. No state income tax in Tennessee. How about it, Matt?
Absolutely. One of those states that doesn't have the state income tax. I concur with your thoughts. It would be good for KP. And let's check in with Casey Kane and Kenny Francis, trying to lock down your 2nd front row start here at Richmond. Describe your run, Casey.
Well, I don't know if it'd be a front row. It's a good lap, but real excited. It's the best my car tomorrow Dodge Avenger's ever turned, so I'm...
You seem very upbeat.
Well, it gets disappointing at times when you're not running as good as you'd like to be, and I just feel like these guys hit on some things. We've had 2 weeks here where they've worked really hard, and, you know, I think we got the Avenger better than what it's been.
Thanks, Case.
Thank you.
Scott Riggs was quickest in practice. Has a shot at the pole. Can he do it?
I don't know. He got up the hill, but he didn't. Down in turn 1, he lost a lot of time. Yeah, it hurt him some. I thought it would. I mean, that other than if he had gotten through turns 1 and 2 like he did 3 and 4, he'd been on the pole by a margin.
And there's the proof of it. The first lap was the quick lap, and most drivers have been picking up on their second
he just
lap.
I just know what that felt so good on that first one. I'm going to go for the pole.
And hope it'll stick.
Dadgum.
That's a good lap considering he's one of the go or go home guys.
Yeah. Krista?
Well, one driver who seems to kind of be onto some momentum is Martin Truex. You guys have had some good runs here the last few weeks. Where do you think Richmond's going to rank on that?
Hopefully good. Our Bass Pro Chevy was just decent at practice. It wasn't great, but one of the guys did some adjustments, made some changes, and we'll see what it's got. But it was pretty good on race runs, older tires, so it should be okay for tomorrow night.
All right, the Bass Pro Shop Chevrolet going to try to, guys, here it is, reel in a good start. Oh, that was bad.
Sorry, you're not allowed to demean your own pun.
Is she fishing
but we'll be happy to.
Is she fishing for a compliment or what?
Got one in your pocket? You got one in your tackle box?
I think she's been hanging out with Chris Myers myself.
Yeah. Good try.
We're not going to fall for that bait.
Meanwhile, back on the track, Elliott Sadler in his Dodge Dealers Avenger, set to make his run.
That's just crazy. I think about it, I just about cracked up. Remember that car that we the three of us did at Phoenix that time that was the...
in the Southwest Tour Series, the cow car.
The cow car.
It was California cheese and it was painted like a Holstein. Krista, we had puns.
That was...
Oh gosh, from here to the barn, we had puns.
He was moving on.
That was just the start of it.
Elliott Sadler, I don't think he'll be too happy with that qualifying run. Right now, he's 18th out of the 20 cars that have qualified.
That car blown up would have been an utter failure. Reed Sorensen, 17th in the Target Dodge with a lap of 21.82. A group of Dodges right there close together. Matt is with the man who is second fastest.
And Darrell had him on the clock as the fastest first lap. And then you got out of the car shaking your head. You knew what you left out there.
Yeah, I just, you know, I pushed the guys to put a little more air in the tires so that hopefully the tires will come in a little better, a little quicker. And the first lap felt so good, and then I carried the speed off into the corner to the next lap and think I'd get a little bit more, and the car just got the tight on me both ends. So it's a good effort on everybody's part of the Valvoline Dodge this weekend. We're going to keep fighting our way into these races and make sure we make the show, so we put a lot of emphasis on qualifying. But I think this week we got a good race car. We didn't have to do anything to just get us in the show. This is how we're going to start the race, and I feel good about it. So just got to keep digging our way out.
Trying to lock down his first ever top 10 start here.
Kenny Wallace on track last night was over at Bill Sawyer's Virginia Motor Speedway on the half-mile dirt. He ran the backup Al Hankey and John Holland car. Regular driver Jimmy Phelps finished 5th in the 60-lap feature, won by Danny Johnson. Tim McCready won in the late models. Herman drove the backup car to a 15th place finish. Had a blast.
He loves racing on
Good lap right there, I think. Well, it's a decent lap, a 70.
Well, what's good about that is he at least beats 2 of the go-or-go-homers. He beats Johnny Benson and Jeremy Mayfield.
So Wallace right now 3rd of 5 on the go-or-go-home list. That's 70. I wouldn't call that a safe lap.
Not at all.
I mean, you look at Allmendinger at 61, I think that's borderline.
I do too, Darrell.
So I think that's what you got to think about. That makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, because most of our go-or-go-homers, they're in the latter part of this qualifying session. Pretty saturated back there in the last 15, 18 cars.
Here's the sentimental favorite of a lot of folks throughout the state of Virginia. Richmond is the capital. And Ward Burton, who is from South Boston, Virginia, again carrying Virginia Tech colors this week. We had a visit from some students between shows today with some patches for us to wear tomorrow night here and all throughout the garage. We'll tell you during tomorrow night's show about some of the folks in the NASCAR garage area, Cup and Bush, that are Tech grads or have family at or near Virginia Tech, and it's still very, very uppermost in the minds of everybody in NASCAR.
Yeah, you obviously can't see it, but Ward Burton is actually wearing a helmet that has a paint scheme that's honoring the victims of last month's tragedy up at Virginia Tech.
Got in there a little hot. went up a little bit, but looked like he was able to get back to the throttle. See how he rolls this in. Now he's up to.
He drove it. He just drove it in, Darrell, and it just wouldn't stick.
He's up a little high, but it didn't look like he got back in it pretty quick.
21.68.
Yeah.
What's good about that?
Wrong with a guy, but that nose just slid like him.
That's just in front of Kenny Wallace. So right now, Ward is third fastest of the 6 Go homers that have qualified.
Yeah, and you heard him say it slid the nose, and that's just a complaint with this car. Can't get enough front grip. But you look at the back of the car and you look at the front of the car and you can see why. It's all weighted to the back. Big old wing, body slid back. Not much on the front to help it plant.
Casey Mears comes out next, carrying the Virginia National Guard colors. 35th in owner points. After this hard hit at Talladega. And the circumstances were odd, to say the least.
Did you see how hard he hit that wall?
Yes.
And I mean, what's he do? He gets out of the car. He's not, you know, he's mad. Hits the top of the car with his fist.
Casey thought that all 3 Hendrick cars, his car, the one in front and the one behind him, were all going to pit that time. And Jimmy Johnson was not pitting, got into the back of him, turned him around.
Now, this first lap is not going to be very good. He was sideways off of turn 4 coming to take the green, and that pretty much is going to kill this first lap. So he's definitely counting on this second lap.
I believe there's so many options you have with air pressure here. Go up like Scott Riggs said, get that good first lap. Maybe stay a little on the conservative side, get that good second lap. That looks like maybe what they're trying to do here.
He definitely got off turn 2 pretty solid. You can see right there, he's flirting with the top 5 if he can get through the middle of 3 and 4 and stay in the throttle.
Well, you know, ooh, that hurt him a little bit.
But he saved it.
A 62.
A 62, and it could have been a 40. It could have been in the 40s without that bobble, but a 62 is good enough for 7th right now.
And, Mike, we've been talking about Virginia Tech. His crew chief, Darian Grubb, is a graduate of Virginia Tech. I'd say very loose.
It's like, hey, watch this.
And stayed in it.
Tell you what, to come out of here right now, sitting 7th quickest with the way that looked, pretty good.
Now, last year in that car, Brian Vickers set the track record here at Richmond. Vickers in a Toyota now, and he's now on the 5-minute clock. That car has not come to the front of the qualifying line.
And how long ago was it? 3 or 4 years ago, Joe Nemechek won the race here. I mean, incredibly fast car that night. And Joe won in the 25 car.
Kevin Harvick carrying the Reese's colors for the first time in Nextel Cup this season for Richard Childress. His last 4 races, 5th, 10th, 3rd, 1st.
Kevin finished 6th at Talladega, but because of some beating and banging going on under caution after the final caution came out, really after the race was just about over, Kevin Harvick, Jamie McMurray beating on each other as he gets pretty loose off turn 2. NASCAR reviewed the tapes. They fined each of those guys $25,000 and they are on probation. I think it's actually through the next Talladega race in October.
But look at him sitting in that race car. When we see the current car, you just see the driver's hands and his helmet. You look at him. He's sitting up in there. You can see him almost his whole upper body. How much bigger the windshield and all is in this car.
Martin Truex Jr., the former Busch champion, 4th fastest with a 21.54. Good run for Martin.
Very nice lap.
Yeah.
Car looked really good. Didn't hop around. Drove it in nice and straight. Got back in the gas.
And here's Jimmy Johnson in the Lowe's Chevy. Qualified 5th at Phoenix, 6th at Bristol with the Impala.
That's one of those turns I can say, gonna have to improve on that. He was up a little bit.
Yeah, just did not get through the middle of the corner, which actually ends up hurting the exit. Looked a little better coming through 3 and 4. This will complete lap 1 with the 48 car. 21.76.
Much better this time. Back in, stepped out just a teeny bit there on him coming out of the turn there at 2.
But Darrell, where he made all his ground was from the middle off down there in turn 1 and 2.
car is really free, but he's handling it well.
Well, flirt up there in the top 5. 21.50.
Yeah, third fastest behind teammate Jeff Gordon and Scott Riggs. This is Johnson's worst racetrack. His average finish here is the worst of all tracks. 21st is his average. His best finish here, 2nd.
But that's his only top 10 finish here.
Right.
In those 10 starts that he's made here.
But look at the start to the season. 3 wins, 6 top 5s for Jimmy.
You know, nobody dominates this racetrack. There have been 14 different pole winners. There have been 15 different race winners out of the last 18 races. So nobody really dominates this track.
You know who's won the most consecutive poles here? 5 of them. Bobby Allison.
You're kidding.
No.
Which would have been on the half mile.
I hope they counted all of them.
David Ruderman in the Domino's Toyota. Now he is go or go home, as are all the Toyotas. All 8 of them are on the must qualify list.
David, he locked her up getting in there.
Just drove it way too deep, and he had a good lap going, but hopefully he learned what he did there, and he can improve on lap 2. 21.75 with what went on there. That's actually a pretty good first lap.
Yeah, I think they smoked it a little bit. It didn't get the car upset, so I think he'll be all right with that. And if he picks up just ever so slightly, he should be in pretty good shape here.
That's a good-looking lap here.
Car pushed up a little there. He couldn't get back to the gas quite quick enough. See what he does.
21.61 right now. That puts him the 3rd quickest of the go-or-go homers, puts him up in the 9th spot with the 00 car.
6.16 on Allmendinger, 6.17 on David.
And that has a right on the bubble look to it, doesn't it?
Well, you know, it just depends on what some. That's pretty stupid to say. What some of these other guys do. So I'll just reserve the right to take that back.
And we'll go to Matt.
And the Hendrick car is looking very strong so far during qualifying. When you look back and debrief with your team over that run, one area you felt like the car was really stronger than maybe another?
I think I had a little trouble through the center of the corner. I was a little loose through the center. The first lap, we had new brakes and stuff on the car. I got them too hot in practice, and it took a lap to get the brakes kind of start working right, get some temp in them. Second lap wasn't bad. You know, the 24 is on fire right now. I wish I could be up there with them fighting for that pole, but, you know, sitting in 3rd now, good distance off of them. We'll see who slots in there in between where we are and where the 24 is.
When you look at their career, the 24 and the 48, 7 times they have finished 1-2, including last week at Talladega.
Carl Edwards coming off a 42nd place finish at Talladega. That dropped him 4 positions to 12th in the Nextel Cup standings, and 12th is the final spot in the chase.
And, you know, he had that engine failure at Talladega, and what I heard later on in the week is there was actually a little problem with that engine right before practice on Friday, and they elected not to change it. Now, we don't know that it was related, but I guess I'm sitting here thinking about Jeff Burton right now, the 31 car, not knowing what the problem is with their engine, but it looks like they've elected to try to fix that problem rather than change the engine.
Second
quickest, 21.48.
And the difference in what I'm seeing between Jeff Gordon's laps and these other guys is Jeff's first lap was pretty good, but he really picked up a ton on the second.
My driving was, you're unsatisfied with it. How far off the pole is that? 10th.
1/10 of a second, a 3.8 to a 4.8.
I don't know that I could have gotten a 10th out of it.
Well, Jeff Gordon has set quite a standard.
Yes, he has.
In this run for the pole with it.
It's very hard to beat.
21.386.
But with Carl getting within a 10th, we still got some really fast cars to go. The track might be picking up a tad. That could be the difference.
All right, Brian Vickers will be our 8th go or go home driver to qualify. Then bumping will begin. In his Red Bull Toyota, he is the track record holder, which he set last fall in a Hendrick Chevy.
His teammate, A.J. Allmendinger, a go-or-go homer right now, the 2nd quickest of the go-or-go homers, up in the 9th spot.
His car's just a little free. I can see the way he's having to run it up the hill just a little bit. Might tighten up on the second lap. Air pressure comes up a tad. Looks better this lap. Looks like he might have slowed it down a little bit in the middle of 1 and 2 to keep it a little lower.
It's like it really came this way getting in the corner, then it went back this way on the exit of the corner.
I think he really slowed it down is what happened, trying to keep it on the bottom.
I don't know if this is going to be very good, guys. 21.77. It's going to be mighty tough. That's going to be a push right there.
Yeah. Looked like it was real free to me. Kristen.
Jeff Burton up at the front of the grid waiting on the car and listening to you in practice. There was definitely something wrong. You were talking about the car shaking a lot. What are the guys working on?
Well, we found some brake problems, and which kind of puts us in a bad spot because now we got all new brakes on it, which we don't really want to have for qualifying. And then on top of that, they were late working on that. And on top of that, we had they were working on the engine, and they lost a piece in the engine, so they had to go take everything apart and go find that piece. So not our best day, but it was a great job catching it. I mean, it was a good job of keeping inventory of the things that were supposed to be there, and something wasn't there, they had to go find it. So ended up taking the whole engine apart. The oil pan was off the engine about an hour ago to go fish this thing out. So they did a great job of finding it, but it's been a long day so far.
Matt Yoakum.
And Carl Edwards climbed out of his car, and you said you couldn't have done any better with that qualifying lap, but especially with the way you look back at how this team has performed over the past couple of races here, that is huge.
Yeah, that's huge. I just can't thank Bob Osborne and the whole Office Depot crew enough. That's fun, man. We got done. I thought, man, it might be like 20th or something. And they said, no, that's pretty good. You're second. So hopefully it holds up. And I was over watching Mitch Hedberg videos on YouTube before this, laughing a little bit. Got myself in a good mood, and maybe that helped. But just can't thank my guys enough, the guys at the shop. And hopefully we'll have a great run. We need one for points.
Mike, doesn't matter what the motivation is, whether it's something on YouTube, try it because it paid off for the 99 team.
All right, Matt, Dave Blaney is a go or go home, and he goes and he's in. He will join Scott Riggs in the race, 21.600, because both of them have run faster than 7 of the go or go homers.
That's about the biggest pickup from lap 1 to lap 2 right there, over a half a second.
I think he had it planned that way it looked.
Great run for Blaney. It will send Jeremy Mayfield home. Tony Raines in the Circuit City and Shrek Chevrolet, 16th fastest, 21.65. Raines a solid 22nd in the Nextel Cup standings. And next up is Dale Jarrett. The Champions Provisional does not come into play because DJ and the UPS Ford have used 6 provisionals, and under the new rules of 2007, that is all that is permitted. So neither Dale Jarrett nor the 44 car, regardless of who the driver is, has any further provisionals. He was 44th in practice, Darrell.
No, the thing's nervous. I mean, you just look at him in there. He doesn't know which end's going to go where. He's pushing up, getting loose. Just looks nervous.
He's got to get to that green line. That's Brian Vickers in 26th place. At a 21.77.
Not going to get there. He was way up the racetrack in 3 and 4, so Dale Jarrett will not make this show, it looks like. 21.91. Dale Jarrett will not race. I think the last time he missed a race was in 1993, I think.
It was 425 races ago, Larry. That's how many can...
No grip front or rear.
The rear wasn't terrible after I got by the first lap, but it just no grip, just couldn't carry.
Now, they made a crew chief change over there this week. Matt Borland is no longer there. They hired Jason Burdett, who was actually at one time Dale's crew chief at Robert Yates Racing. Now, Jason's not here this weekend. He's at home at the shop, kind of getting acclimated. Derek Finley's looking after the car this week for 1 weekend only.
Yeah, Derek was over at Bill Davis's. He was over there with Michael last year when Michael first started at Bill Davis's, and it's been kind of one of Toyota's main engineers. Derek's a great engineer.
So Jarrett's consecutive start streak of 424 will come to a halt.
And the last time he missed a race, it just dawned on me. I know you got the number there. It was actually North Wilkesboro in the fall of 1994, because he followed it up the next week, I think, by winning at Charlotte at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
But we've been seeing this coming. I mean, you know, he's relied on that provisional 6 times, so we've been seeing this coming. Unfortunately, it happened today.
Mike Bliss is also on the go or go home list in the BAM Racing Dodge. Paralyzed Veterans of America is the partnership with BAM Racing for these races. And his 4th place here in 2004 for Joe Gibbs, his best finish in 81 Cup starts.
Boy, the thing was was sliding big time off of turn 2. But Mike knows he's got the go or go home. Missed the show at Talladega last week.
See what his first lap is. I think he got the air down just a tad. See what that does for him.
22.10, and I think the big loss was over there coming off turn 2.
No, he's fighting with it. You see sawing on the wheel. That's not good. That just tells you it doesn't know which way it wants to go. And you can't have that and put down a fast lap.
Yeah, it's not going to get there, but this will probably be pretty good news for David Rudiman because it's probably going to lock him into the show.
And it does. Mike Bliss will go home with a lap of 22.09. And David Rudiman will lock in with his lap of 21.61. So there are 4 go or go homers left to qualify. Ken Schrader, Michael Waltrip, Paul Menard, and Kevin LePage. And the 4 drivers who are waiting and wondering: Ward Burton, Kenny Wallace, Johnny Benson, and Brian Vickers. Show it to you graphically here. Those 4 drivers from Burton through Vickers right there. That right now are the watch and wait drivers. There are 4 spots left to be decided, and here is one of them. Paul Menard.
You know, Mike, we talked about the guys really leaning on it last week at Talladega, the impound race, the guys that had to get in the show. And I think we actually saw that possibly with some engine failures with these guys, including Paul Menard, Ward Burton, David Rudiman late in the race. But like I talked to Chris Carrier, Ward Burton's crew chief, yesterday, he said, you know what? We had to lean on it, but we were going to be watching it from home.
Yeah, their performance is all engine related. If you can pick up a little horsepower, you can go fast. Here it's all chassis related, and you got to be really careful because you're going to have to sit out there all night with the old handling car. You don't want that. Not a very good first lap for Paul.
Got some work to do there.
The green line is Brian Vickers. If he doesn't get to the green line, he goes home. Let's put a line right there where Ward Burton is. If he gets to the left of that line, he locks in, and he will race tomorrow night.
He was there until he got off turn 4, 21.77.
And that goes home. So the Moen Fawcett's Menard Chevy. Actually, it moves to the bubble.
Yeah, it doesn't go home right yet.
I'm mistaken. It moves
Knocks
to the bubble.
Vickers out.
And Brian Vickers is knocked out.
I guess you could call this knockout qualifying for those guys, right?
Sure. A little like Formula One.
It is
different. Krista?
Well, if there's one driver who deserved a good finish after having a good car for so many weeks, it was Kurt Busch. You got that in Talladega last weekend. Can momentum transfer despite the fact that we're going from the old style cars to the car of tomorrow this week?
Well, you hope that each week is a new week and that the past can carry into what you're doing this time around, but not really. Talladega is its own animal, and then here we are with the COT and our Dodge Avenger here at Richmond, and it's just a completely different mindset and a whole different way to approach a race car. Plus the impound. The impound's kind of tough.
But he is a former Richmond winner. He won here in September of 2005.
All right, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the Budweiser number 8 on track.
Heard him tapping that rev limiter getting down into turn 1. From right there all the way down around this front straightaway, this is a big looping front straightaway, to all the way down to there. I mean, that's a fast part of the racetrack, and you're in the gas a long time.
Junior got his first Nextel Cup top 10 here, and he got 3 wins here, including his most recent.
Tell you what, boys, he's on a good lap. That first lap, 21.78. He's flirting with the top 5. Maybe not quite there, but I think it's going to be a good lap. 21.52, 6th quickest for the Budweiser car.
Let's point out that Paul Menard's run locked Ward Burton into the race, so the Virginia Tech State Water Heater Chevy will race here tomorrow night. Jamie McMurray in the Crown Royal Ford will roll off mid-pack tomorrow night, 21.69. Right now, that's 21st quickest.
Well, here goes Mikey. Let's see if he's got any Rudiman magic in his car.
Michael has an interesting idea. He thinks all of the go-or-go-homers should qualify in one clump together. Go ahead and have one draw, seed out the top 35, let them run, let the go-or-go-homers all qualify together, and really have knockout qualifying. Not a bad idea.
I can go along with that. You know, if it helps everybody.
I don't think it's an interesting idea. I think it's a great idea because there's going to be some places, like when we get to Indy, it's such a huge advantage to go early in the morning. They start up there about 10 o'clock. Let's see what Michael can do on his first lap, 22:15.
He's got to get to that green line, and he's got to get there to lock in.
I think he can if he can got off there pretty decent. If he doesn't mess up here getting into 3 now, nice and easy in here. Don't shove up. Oh, this looks good.
Yeah, he really went through the corner.
That looked good. He lost a little time getting off of there. Whoa, what happened?
Did he make it?
21:79. He will not race tomorrow night.
Man, he had it all the way off turn 4. What happened?
By 2/100ths of a second, the
poor
Napa
guy,
Camry
I mean,
goes
can
home.
you imagine every week? It's a couple of hundreds.
Well, right now, Kenny Wallace is locked in at a 21:70. Michael just missed the show at a 21:79.
But watch, Larry, I mean, he was all green all the way to, he's good here, he's good here. Back in the gas hard. Now watch his hands. Yikes, yikes. Thing gets real loose right there getting up off the corner.
And that was the difference right now in making this show and not making it. So Michael Waltrip Racing, they have one guy locked in, David Ruderman, but Dale Jarrett, Michael Waltrip will not race.
Still 2 spots to determine. As Kevin LePage comes out, he is one of them. Long John Silver's
Not going to
on
get
the
a
side
very
of
good,
his Dodge.
Not going to get a very good run at this green flag by virtue of heading up the hill there.
Now LePage has to best Johnny Benson in 27th to lock in. He needs a 77 or better.
Don't believe this is a 77 run. Or looks like it's heading up the hill too much.
First lap 22:31. He's going to need to find 6/10 of a second.
This is going to be a much better lap, and I don't think it's 6/10 better. A little loose there. The car's just a little bit flopping around a little too much.
21.95. But that's good news for Johnny Benson, one of those Toyota teams. And I'm sure that right there has got to add insult to injury to teams like Brian Vickers, Dale Jarrett, Michael Waltrip. Here's a truck team rolls in here and makes the show with Johnny Benson.
Plus, he was the first one out. You know, I thought that was the kiss of death.
And we thought that 21.75 that Benson ran, that was on the wrong side of borderline. But Benson will race tomorrow night, and the final spot is between Paul Menard and Ken Schrader.
But you mentioned it, Darrell. Johnny was awfully good. He had the Toyota team scratching their head up here at the test last month.
Yeah, I think there were a couple of other Toyota drivers that were kind of hopping mad at how could this guy come up here with a truck team and be faster than we are? The answer was maybe it's JB.
Maybe.
Because he is a real good shoe.
Yes, he is.
11 cars left to qualify. Greg Biffle in the 3M Ford. Kyle Busch goes on the 5-minute clock. That's why they're rushing to get his car down the line.
There's another one
way
up
up the hill.
I mean, that's just killing that come to the green lap.
If you're not in position in the qualifying line when it's your turn to go, NASCAR starts a 5-minute clock. You have 5 minutes to present your car to the front of the qualifying line, or you don't get to run.
Unless you're like the 31 car, Jeff Burton, Kenny Schrader, the 21 that goes to NASCAR, present your problem, then they may excuse you.
First lap for Biffle, 22:14.
That car just did not hook up at all on that first lap. Almost like they had the air pressure way, way low, depending on it coming around for this second lap.
Second lap's not looking a whole lot better, Darrell.
He's just having to slow it down to keep it from sliding up the hill, and that's just killing his lap time.
He's going to be right back there with Jamie McMurray, Matt Kenseth, and David Reagan. 3 of his 4 teammates. Biffle's a little slower than them with a 76. Carl Edwards has been the only Ford with a lot of bragging rights tonight with a 21:48. Edwards is second.
Think about this. If Jeff Gordon can run 21:38 in race trim, this is an impound race, I'd say everybody else might be in trouble.
Yeah, I tried to get the gas sooner down here, and it was going to stick, but I let up.
Now there's the King with Bobby Labonte, and we are corrected. That's what I get for reading press releases. The King, Richard Petty, with 200 wins and 7 championships, stock car racing's all-time winner, hopes to have a chance to meet Queen Elizabeth, who is on a tour of America. She was at Jamestown for the 400th anniversary of the Jamestown, Virginia settlement, was here in Richmond yesterday, goes to the Kentucky Derby tomorrow, and so will Richard.
Yeah, he's guest of Governor Fletcher's tomorrow, and they're going up there, and they invited Richard to come up and be their guest, and maybe the king will get to meet the queen. They're hoping.
What a great story that would be.
Do you know that Lee Petty won here, Richard Petty won here, Kyle Petty won here? 3 generations of Petties have won at this racetrack.
That win of Kyle's was very interesting.
Very interesting, but not very funny.
He was running 5th at the white flag, and then a bunch of us stacked up over there at the end of the backstretch.
That's when they raced back to the flag. And I think Kyle was as surprised as anyone.
Yeah, well,
but
we
a
were
lot happier.
We were having a race back to the flag, too. It just ended a little prematurely.
Sterling Marlin, the Waste Management Chevy, first lap 22:46. Now, all of these cars left to qualify, except Kenny Schrader, are in the race. Schrader's the only go-homer left, and Paul Menard is on the bubble. Marlin, 21.82, 33rd on the list. His last Nextel Cup top 10 finish came here in this race last year.
But what a great run he had going at Talladega last week, Darryl. You
really
talked about that a lot.
I was so excited for him. See him up there leading that race and running good, and it just brought back a lot of memories of him in the 4 car, and actually when he drove the 22 car for Junior Johnson. Running good at those big racetracks.
How far would you go to be named the ultimate NASCAR fan? Tune in when 4 contestants square off doing crazy stunts and compete for fan supremacy and a chance to join the Speed Road Tour crew. So what does the winner get? Oh, a chance to join the Speed Road Tour crew.
Oh, okay.
The Road Tour Challenge is Thursday at 8 Eastern Time on Speed.
That's an interesting little crew they got assembled there. I got to say.
You could get to work with Rutledge all year.
Yeah.
And that's the grand prize.
I don't know what they're going to do with that bus is what I'm wondering when they get finished with it.
Rutledge Wood, there's a unique individual. He stopped me this morning. He said, I just want to let you know I have a back waxing appointment before your 2nd annual Larry Mack barbecue. And I said, you know, I'm really glad you shared that with me, Rutledge. I can sleep now.
Did you have to share it with all of us?
Yeah. So is he trying to raise funds or what?
Don't know. Kyle Busch in the Kellogg's CarQuest Chevy for Hendrick Motorsports. 2 hard hits last weekend in the Busch race at Talladega, the big flip. Hard hit in the Cup race. Some of the talk shows on radio and TV made a great point of the fact that his Hans device cracked. And to me, that's a non-issue. Kyle walked away from both wrecks. He feels fine. If you pile up your car and the front end gets bashed in and you walk away, well, that's what it's supposed to do. The proof is in the fact that the driver walked away and he's okay.
I know what's not going to be fine. His feelings about this car tomorrow with that qualifying run.
I reckon that's the one he threw at somebody last year, D.
Speed's presentation of Bud Pole qualifying from Richmond is brought to you by Just for Men. Stay in the game with Just for Men hair color. 7 drivers to go as J.J. Yaley is on track. Second lap 21:67 for Yaley. He is 20th in the Interstate Battery Chevy.
Right there with his teammate Tony Stewart, the 20, who's 19th right now.
Tony Stewart right now is in the NASCAR officials booth where he's going to observe tonight's race, the Circuit City 250 Busch Series race, and have a good close look at NASCAR officials and their decision-making process and the information available to them during the running of the race. Tony's not the first driver to accept such an invitation. A lot of folks have been up there to see how it works. And that's a good thing. Adds to the understanding. It's like announcers sitting in the TV truck for a practice session. It's like, my gosh, 1 hour of controlled chaos. Let me out of here. Let me go back to the booth. I'll be good. I'll do anything you want. Don't make me sit down here.
Well, you know, in a driver's mind, when you're racing, it's all about you. You know, it's how things affect you. You never realize how it affects the entire field. And that's the thing that's sitting up here or watching from up here. That's the education you get. The things they do is not just what affects you. It affects everybody on the racetrack. And sometimes you take them personally. You say, oh, they're out to get me. Oh, they did this. Oh, they did that. Sorry, son, but it's not about you.
Maybe you didn't even enter into it.
Hey,
sorry. Yeah, maybe not. All right, Kurt Busch in the Miller Lite Dodge, 22:04 for his first lap.
Some guys are so paranoid about that, though. When they see the teams huddle up on pit road, they think they're talking about them.
And when they see the black helicopters, they know it's about them.
It's a dead giveaway right there.
Kurt is just not getting off the corner very good. Second lap, 21.77. It's going to put him pretty deep in the field, 31st right now, out of the 44 cars that have actually qualified. See all the different pieces of orange tape. The X is on a lot of tape on the nose, on the quarter windows. Remember, this is an impound race. That's to remind these crews that that's tape that needs to come off to race.
We may get a little hold here, Larry, because if you look where the 3/10 are, that's where a lot of the inspection process is taking place down in the garage area. There is only one car in position at the qualifying line, yet there are 6 cars left to run. So there you see the DirecTV Chevy of Clint Boyer. You see Jeff Burton's car there. I think Kenny Schrader's has already made it through. Waiting on Jeff Green, Denny Hamlin, and Joe Nemechek as well.
See Nemechek's car right there, the 13 car.
Then they got to come out of there, though, and then they got another little stop they got to make right out here on pit road, too.
Which is where Denny Hamlin's car is at right now.
Oh, here comes Schrader getting pushed out, and now they have sent Jeff Green to qualify. The Haas Automation Chevy, former Busch champion.
Now this, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mike.
Go ahead.
This first lap is not going to be it's not going to be good at all, because he came by here almost as if he's banking on everything on his second lap. He wasn't even up to speed good, so he's putting everything in one lap here.
Trying to get heat in the tires, but not abuse them. Not shove the fronts or get the rear spinning.
See, he was 47th quickest on that lap, but I think he's got a game plan here. Let's see if it works out for him.
Was a little slow through the middle of the corner, but got off the corner good and actually gained some spots down that back straightaway. This actually is looking pretty good. It's going to be maybe in the top 15 for this 66 car. 21.613. That's going to put him 11th quickest. Looked like to me that little plan worked out.
See, he sat over there and he just kind of kept that all to himself, hoping no one would realize what he was going to do.
And he went late in the session, so a lot of people can't duplicate it now.
Really good looking lap, but Darrell, that car really hiked the left front on acceleration. A little different look to it.
What do all these celebrities have in common? They've all thrown the green flag in a NASCAR race, and now you can too. Want to be the chief flag operator at this year's NASCAR Nextel All-Star Challenge? Log on to speedtv.com/MyRaceDay for details, and you could be here.
When you're about to do something this big, a little luck never hurts. Thanks for having us.
What do we have here? Laminate.
Thomasville Jatoba hardwood with satin smooth finish.
Very nice. Class, I want you to see what happens when you go beyond just reading the instructions. Well done.
Suck up.
No, Mama Marcus loves you. He's so happy you're moving in with us. Right, Marcus?
Oh, I'm overjoyed.
We're going to fix up the front room. And we're things in the garage. I mean, Marcus doesn't need to watch TV.
I knew it. I knew it all the time.
Lost your mind?
You never liked me.
What are you
No, I needed to service this.
Need to keep your car moving? Go to NASCAR.com and click on the NASCAR Performance logo for car care know-how and a listing of NASCAR Performance Network shops near you.
Winning's the only thing that counts, and you're not going to be quite as forgiving.
It's the whole time, how fast can I go?
Go out there and not think about points and just let it rip.
You know, the All-Star race is about now. Get it on.
It's the best of the best. A full-out sprint. You know, all for the bragging rights, all for the money.
When I strap in, I lay it on the line.
The NASCAR Nextel All-Star Challenge on Speed.
Let's go for it.
May 19th, NASCAR on Speed. It's huge.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.
There is impound following qualifying, which has not yet been completed. There are still 5 cars to go. And once NASCAR opened the inspection line, cars are inspected in their order of qualifying draw. But now we are late in the session, and yet some of those cars have not completed inspection. Now there's Clint Boyer, who's going to drive that DirecTV 07, but he's dressed for his Busch Series sponsor tonight, BB&T. That's a bank, regional bank. And
looks like there's some issues here with the weight on the cars. Things are so heavy on the right side. It's disgusting to put all that weight over there.
Yeah, I mean, you really don't have to put a lot over there. The car just is that naturally heavy. It's 75 pounds heavier required weight on the right side versus our current car. There you see Denny Hamlin, 11 car being pushed down towards qualifying, set on the pole here the fall race last year. And again, impound, when this qualifying session's over, all those cars that are on pit road that made the show, they will be put in the garage area, covered up, locked down. The garage opens at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. The teams will be able to, with the assistance of a NASCAR official, warm the cars up, adjust tape. There's a few chassis adjustments you can make, air pressure, wedge, track bar, but you can't jack it up. You can't change springs or gear or sway bar. And the full intent is to maybe save the owners money from what they spend on qualifying. Now, I agree with that at the restrictor plate racetracks. I think it's more of a track schedule here at the 2 Richmond races.
As I look at this car, Larry, rolling down pit road, though, the thing that you realize about this car versus the current cars are all whoppy-jawed. I mean, the noses are moved way over that way, and the tails are moved over that way, and they look like big bananas. Look how straight this baby is. She's all parallel, all square. And that's one of the big differences, and that's why wind tunnel time is not going to be quite as important as it used to be.
Yeah, if you could ignore the splitter, you look at the front of these cars, and they look like a street car, but for the splitter below the bumper.
That's a huge product of that grid of templates. You know, our current car has to fit all these templates, but because they're not tied together, you can twist, pull, and push. But all of the templates, for the most part, that go on this car tomorrow across the top and across the roof and all, about 17 of them are tied together in a grid.
Well, you can put a template on an egg any way you want to, and it'll fit.
One template at a time.
Yeah, one template at a time. This car has character lines here, here, down. It's got all kind of lines to line things up on, like the old cars used to have.
And the other goal would be, with all these cars being that way, that you would take this car and maybe be able to run it at Michigan or be able to run it at Pocono. That's one of the goals, is hopefully reduce the fleet of cars that a team has to have. You have to have right now, to be competitive every week, you have to have maybe 14, 16 current cars, because all of them are just a little different with things you do with the body and the chassis.
I don't think you'll ever stop these guys from building cars, because just like we heard at Talladega last week, they're building brand new current cars, knowing that they're only going to use them a few more races this year.
Now, I heard a couple of drivers, Kyle Petty was one, who's saying, stop calling it the car tomorrow. It's not the car of tomorrow anymore. In his case, it's the Avenger. The old car is the Charger, the new car is the Avenger. In the Chevy camp, the old car is the Monte Carlo. The new style car is the Impala. Okay, that's an easy distinction to make. But Ford runs the Fusion, both the old and new style, and Toyota, the Camry. Their new Camry is both in the old configuration and the new one. So that's a little harder to deal with. That's why you still hear us referring to the COT, or the car of tomorrow, this style body and these specifications, which are different than what we're used to.
Yeah, I think they both can be COTs. Current car of tomorrow and the car of tomorrow. Does that make sense? It does to me anyway. So let's talk about Denny Hamlin.
Then I'll go with you. All right, here's Hamlin. Starts on the pole for tonight's Busch race.
Today is what I was trying to say. And the car of tomorrow.
Pretty decent first lap, 21.75 for Denny Hamlin in this 11 car.
Got up off that turn there good, I can tell you.
Looking pretty good right there. He's flirting maybe with the low 40s.
Whoop. Lost it right there. She wobbled on him. He was looking good till he got to the third turn.
And he paid the price all the way off the corner. She's still going to be a decent lap at a 21.51. That will put him 6th quickest with this 11 car.
He had pole going until it wobbled a little bit getting into 3.
And you saw the tracker scoot to the right.
Like a little heavy braking. Car might have just nosed over on him, hit the ground possibly, and got him a little bit loose.
And then there were 4.
Or 5 or 6 or 7. How many are there? 10 peoples.
Well, 4 cars to go on that. As Dale Jr. signs a few. Jr., who last week implored his fans not to throw beverage cans if Jeff Gordon broke his father's record, and the fans that ignored that request, 14 of them were arrested and detained, and were told will no longer be able to buy tickets at Talladega for life. And track president Grant Lynch has asked other tracks to join in that ban. Las Vegas quickly followed. I believe other tracks will. And Lynch is looking into whether or not he can ban those people from the property. They are trying to send a really strong message to race fans, although it's hard to characterize those people as fans, so that they can stop short of banning folks from bringing their own beverages to the racetrack. But you must be able to maintain order regardless of what driver wins, and you must respect the integrity of the sport by not throwing items toward the cars on the racetrack that could injure the drivers in them, or worse yet, people in the lower rows of the grandstand.
They were warned before the race. If you're caught, and we have a lot of extra security, throwing anything at the track, doesn't mean it's going to go on the track, just at the track, you're going to get arrested. And they did. It's the good guys have got to point out the bad guys. When you're a good fan and you're standing there and you see this happening, you need, everybody's got to kind of take some response and say, hey, that guy over there was throwing stuff.
But you're right, Mike. I talked to Jerry Gappins at Lowe's Motor Speedway, and a few rotten apples, and they are rotten. They're rotten to the core. They're going to spoil it for our good fans, and they're going to drive the cost of a fan attending a sporting event at a NASCAR track up, because eventually they're going to say, you know what, you can't bring anything in the racetrack.
Junior also told his fans, if you have to throw something, he said kiddingly, throw a roll of toilet paper. Nobody ever had to have stitches getting hit in the back of the head with a roll of toilet paper, and we did see a couple. But we saw way too many full beverage cans aimed either at Jeff Gordon or Hendrick Motorsports or the new NASCAR, whatever those fans railed against. But folks, it's got to stop, or the next thing that'll stop will be bringing your coolers to the racetrack, and nobody wants that to stop.
No. Well, we see Joe really spinning the tires. They're getting a lot of heat in the rear tires of this baby.
Right now he has a teammate up in the 9th spot, Mark Martin, in the 01 Army car.
Well, this is front row Joe, so don't be surprised if he lays one down.
He did smoke that left front just a little bit getting off into turn 1 under braking.
Boy, his team, though, Ginn Racing, what a presence they have. They have luxury motor coaches for client entertainment here. And going across Mooresville the other day was the Ginn Blimp in big bright blue, much like this race car.
He's got work to do from that first lap, 22.11. I think a lot of that was lost down there in turn 1 and 2. Not looking a whole lot better here on lap 2, but this car is locked into the show.
It's kind of interesting, though, how drivers think and what their philosophies are for qualifying. Jeff Green, he goes around real slow in his first lap, then turns a really hot second lap. Joe tears out of the pits down here, spinning all 4 tires. Everybody's got a different theory.
Except Joe's theory resulted in a 40th place run.
Not good.
No, 21.829.
I didn't say all theories were good. I just say everybody had one.
He was definitely loose on exit.
And there's the story.
And
3 drivers to go.
If you spin that right rear tire enough, it'll get loose on that.
Jeff Burton, Ken Schrader, and Clint Boyer remain. Usually the Jack Daniels car. Tonight it's the DirecTV Chevrolet for Boyer. Qualified 12th at Phoenix. And in the races with this Impala, finished 8th at Bristol, 11th at Martinsville, and 22nd at Phoenix. He's in the chase right now, 11th in the standings.
Brought a brand new car tomorrow here. They tested it here last month and then went down to South Georgia Motorsports Park and tested a little bit more and kind of slid off turn 2 and it bit just at the last moment there on late exit.
That's that tripping thing that Robbie Gordon was telling me about. It's tripping over its front tires. The back tires are tripping over the front ones. Makes perfectly good sense if you're
decent
Robbie
first
Gordon.
lap. 21.82, Darrell.
Not bad. Loosey-goosey there. Sails are into 3. Bobbing and weaving through the middle and coming to the line.
Up about mid-pack, 21.66. It's going to put him 20th right now.
Loose on the brake.
Too much rear brake.
And that's definitely one of the things that's going on. We talk about these car tomorrows not wanting to turn, getting in down to the middle. They have a front and rear master cylinder on them where you can adjust the bias. And I talked to a lot of the brake specialist chassis guys. These guys are cranking more and more rear brake in them to get them to turn. And they're actually having a lot of problems with rear brakes.
So now we're down to 1. Larry, Paul Menard is on the bubble. And he's a 21.772. Ken Schrader missed the race last week at Talladega. First time the Wood brothers hadn't raced in what, 7 years. Elliott Sadler missed a race, and Schrader, who qualified 4th at Martinsville, has got to go. It's Schrader or Paul Menard for the last spot in the field.
And he was not very good in practice earlier today. And again, they've been fighting whatever's been going on with the suspension problem. Looks like they just finally got it fixed just a few minutes ago, and he has to go right out there and try to qualify. Probably not going to be a very good first lap, 22 flat.
That's not bad, though. I tell you, he could pick that up pretty easily. We've seen 2 or 3 tenths.
Needs to pick up 2.5 tenths, Darrell, if he wants to knock Paul Menard out of the show and get this 21 car in. Right there is where he's trying to get to that green mark. He's got a little bit of work to do.
If he can just hold it together all 4 here, he might do it.
I don't think it's going to do it, DW. 21.79, he misses it by
2/100ths of a second.
And in case we didn't make note, Brian Vickers missed it by 6/1000ths of a second getting in this show.
Right, Schrader will be the second car bumped out. Vickers the first or last, if you will. Vickers is the first car to miss the show at a 21.778.
And he missed it at a 21.778. Jeff Gordon on the pole at a 21.38, less than 0.4 of a second. Sent him home.
0.4 from the pole.
From the pole.
To the truck.
Yep.
1 car left to go. You saw Jeff Burton's number 31. And our butt pull qualifying will be completed. Lennox Industrial Tools on that Childress Chevrolet this week. And they're airing up the tires, and Burton will be the last driver to make a run as the crowd begins to file in for tonight's Busch race.
You know, speaking of crowd, our next race with the car tomorrow's next week at Darlington. I talked to Mac Josie earlier today. They're within about 300 tickets of selling Darlington out for next Saturday night's race.
All that messing around the car, checking air, and late through inspection, and all those things, it's really distracting to the driver. I tell you, it's just, you don't want those kind of things going on when you're getting ready to go out there and try to lay down the fastest lap you can do.
Burton has 1 win here and 1 pole in the Nextel Cup Series. 2 wins and 3 poles in the Busch Series here.
And you know, when I think about all the problems he described as he little slide off turn 2, you know, they had to drop something in the engine, they had a brake problem. The biggest things he's trying to learn with these 2 laps, besides a good qualifying run, have you fixed all the problems with my race car? The next lap I'll see is when they drop the green flag tomorrow night.
First lap, 22.12. Smooth off 2.
It's not going to be a very good lap. This is going to put him quite a ways back in the field. Comes in here second in the points even after being involved in the crash last week at Talladega, but he's going to start deep in this field. 21.83 right now. He's 43rd out of the 50 cars that qualified.
Didn't have that great a run at Phoenix either. You know, finished like 18th or 19th. Struggled with the car out there. This is the same tire, by the way, that they run at Phoenix, so that's a consistency.
Carl Edwards, his first front row start this season, and Krista, Jeff Gordon has now won his 61st career pole and his 3rd in a row.
And he said on the radio the crew has been blowing him away. So what can you do in this race to blow them away tomorrow night?
I don't know. Maybe something's in this energy drink or something. I am blown away. I really didn't think that lap was going to hold up. I knew it was a good lap, but I did not think that it would hold up. And I don't know if the track got cooler hurt some guys or what, but I was getting pretty nervous there with all the delays, and I thought somebody was really going to do it, especially Hamlin. I was real nervous about him, but great effort by this DuPont Chevrolet team. I can't believe the roll that we're on, and we're going to try to keep it going.
He's going to try to keep it rocking and rolling. The wait a little bit longer. Jeff Gordon's on the pole.
Here's a look at the starting lineup for tomorrow night's Crown Royal presents the Jim Stewart 400.
A couple of guys had to go or go home up there. You saw Dave Blaney and Scott Riggs in the top 10.
How about Allmendinger and my buddy David Rudiman? And boy, Rudiman had a great run last week. Good to see him qualifying up there again near the front.
Kevin Harvick, winner from the fall race, he's going to start deep in the field along with Matt Kenseth. I'm sure those guys will be a factor before it's all over.
And then, Larry, you're probably right. There's Johnny Benson. He makes the show. First time up here with that team. Great job on JB's part.
And Paul Menard had to sweat it out right down to the next to last car. He will race. And by, what, 6 1/1000ths of a second, Brian Vickers, the track record holder, will not. Then Kenny Schrader and the rest of the 7 drivers who were disappointed. We'll see you for the race tomorrow night on Fox as we congratulate Jeff Gordon on his 3rd Nextel Cup pole in a row.